Gravestones will not last forever. Like humans, they too have a lifespan. Some are in good health, others have mild colds, and a few require intensive care. In order to prolong their life as much as possible, we first must understand any harmful symptoms. So without further ado, here are 7 signs that a stone is dying. You see them growing on countless graves. It's not mold, it's not moss, it's not even considered a plant. They are called lichens, a hybrid of fungus and algae that is able to suck nutrients out of bare rock to stay alive. Ranging in a variety of species and colors, lichens love to spread over gravestones, eating the rock beneath as they go along. If not kept in check, they will eventually consume an entire grave, as you can see in these photos. As headstones age, they tend to develop poor posture. Many like to lean on their side, arch backwards, or hunch forwards. The lazier ones tend to just lie on their backs all day. There are those that try to stand too tall, and others that seem to shrink every year. When stones sink into the earth like this, a good deal of information can go hidden from view. Take, for instance, the full length of John Foster's headstone. Its intended grass line is here, right below the decorative lower border. But when compared to this old photograph, we can plainly see how far it had once sank into the ground. There is a special place in hell devoted to those who vandalize gravestones. Using knives, keys, or paint, people will actually deface the surface of a stone to write their pathetic little names. Some will go so far as to topple a gravestone over completely, which contributes to the next form of death. Stones can break for a variety of reasons. As I just mentioned, they can be tipped over intentionally, causing them to shatter in pieces. In more common circumstances, careless groundskeepers accidentally strike stones with their lawnmowers, snapping them cleanly along their base. When it comes to the stone itself, slate eventually experiences some form of delamination. This is when water seeps into the thin layers that comprise the stone. As that water repeatedly freezes and thaws year after year, it eventually pops the layers off. Some graves happen to split cleanly in half, but for those unlucky souls, delamination can shred the surface in random areas. Any fragments that fall to the ground are vulnerable to the next form of death. Whenever I see a broken grave, I always wonder where the missing fragment disappeared to. Was it discarded by an insensitive maintenance crew? Is it awaiting a sensitive restoration at some local depository? While these theories could be argued, it is far more likely that all gravestone fragments are stolen, either by tourists seeing an opportunity to bring home a legitimate New England souvenir, or by gravestone enthusiasts who somehow believe that the fragments are better off in the protection of their own homes. For those fragments too big to carry, they will simply lie on the ground until the earth eventually swallows them whole. When burying grounds were first laid out in the 17th century, they were typically surrounded by wide open land. Every grave received an ample dose of sunlight that revealed the majesty of the carving. But as cities grew up around these cemeteries, large skyscrapers began blocking out the sun. And today there are many stones in the Granary and King's Chapel that, because of their location, will unfortunately live in perpetual shadow. New England is a harsh climate to survive outdoors in, and many of these stones have experienced over 300 years of blizzards, hurricanes, and nor'easters. Carvings begin to fade, and letters begin to lose their crisp edges, especially those that are chiseled into sandstone or marble. So there you have it, 7 signs of a dying grave. The good news is that many of these symptoms can be cured by a little tender loving care. My next video is going to focus on gravestone conservation, so be sure to subscribe, and thanks for listening.